Welcome to a question and where we have some complex functions inside of functions and then inside of other functions. This is pretty tough here. All right, so what are they? First, they want f prime of 8. So let's write out capital F is different than little f, you notice. It's like that. All right, here I'll put the X. Okay, I'm just copying this down basically. So then when they say take f prime, okay, take the derivative. So what do we do when we have a function inside a function? Remember, that's chain rule. So this is the inside function, and this one's the outside. And so the chain rule tells us that if you have like chain rule, chain rule tells us that if you have an outer function and an inner, the derivative is the derivative. So again, this means, let me be clear here. This means outer. This means there, inner. So you take the derivative of the outside function, keep the inside the same, times the derivative of the inside function. All right, so let's do it. So I do the derivative of the outside function. There we go. Keep the inside the same at first. That's just the inside, times the derivative of the inside function, which this is the derivative of the inside. This is the inside function, which is f prime of x. So there we go. Okay, so then let's try to unravel that. So then this f prime is going to be f prime of, and then in here is f of x. So that's, and what are we plugging in? They said plug in 8. Yeah, I should have said x here, and now we're plugging in 8. So here, let me change the color to be more clear. Plugging in 8. So that's going to be f of 8 times f prime of 8. Does that make sense? We took the capital F prime, we did the chain rule, drew the outside, right? This is the outside, keep the inside the same, times drew the inside. Then we're plugging in 8. They said take capital F prime of 8, plug in 8, the two places where we've got x. Okay. So then, next line, this is F prime of 8, and it's equal to what? F, little f prime of. Now, what's little f of 8? That's going to go right here. What's little f with 8 plugged in? 14, it says right there. Remember, f's a function. You plug in 8, out comes 14. So this will be 14 time. Now, what's f prime of 8? That's a little different than little f prime of 8. Little f prime of 8 is right here. Little f prime of 8 is 10. This becomes 10 times 10. We're almost there. So capital F prime of 8 equals now. This is going to be little f prime of 14. What's that? Little f prime of 14. That's 3. This whole thing is 3, and the other thing is still just 10. And we all know 3 times 10 is 30. There's the answer. So that was tricky. We had inner and outer work to do. Now, I think the other part's going to probably be even more tricky, would be my guess. All right. Let's do it. So now the other part, g prime of 8. Yikes. Yeah, that's going to be rough. Okay. So let's be clear. What is g? Well, right here is the definition of g. So let's start with g. We'll get to g prime. G of x is f of x squared, huh? Capital F of x squared. So that means, and what is capital F of x? That's right. It's right here. Here's capital F of x. It's that. So that's going to be little f of x. Um, Here, let's do this. squared, right? Because that's, you got to kind of keep track of it. Capital F is little f of little f. So capital F inside is little f of little f. The whole thing is squared, right? Okay. It's getting tough. All right. So now what do they really want from us? They want, I'll change the color for clarity. They want G prime. All right. They want the derivative, right? G prime. And we're going to put the 8 in a minute. What's that going to equal? Well, you've got to realize we have a lot of layers here. We have this outer layer. That's the main outer layer. And we have this middle layer, and then we have this inside layer, right? Because the outer layer is the 2 power. Inside of that, we have this first f, and then little f, and then inside of that even, we have another little f nested in there. We have 3 layers. 3 layers. It's a 3-layer chain rule. And I'm thinking I'm not going to have enough room here. Yeah, maybe I should really bring this down a bit. So, okay. So how do we do a 3-layer chain rule? Let me write it out for you. So the chain rule, 3 layers. If you have A as the outer layer, and then B inside of that, and then C even inside of that, and you take the derivative, what it's going to do is you do the outer layer first. Whenever I put a prime on something, that means derivative, right? The outer layer first. Keep keep the inside stuff the same. A lot of color change in here. Times. Then it's kind of like A's done. Now you go down to the B. Then you do the B prime. Again, keep what comes after it the same, unchanged. Times, and he's done. Finally, C prime. So layer by layer by layer, moving in. So outer layer, keep the inside the same. Next layer, keep the inside the same. Final inside layer. That's the chain rule with 3 levels. So that's what we got to do here. So I'm going to bring this on down. So we got G of x equals parenthesis. Then just to be clear, let me do some layers here. So we've got this F layer, and then we've got maybe I should do the same as I just did with the rule there. So I'll do the outer layer is squared, like I did the A. And then inside that we got the F. And then inside that, the inner layer f of x. So 3 layers, right? So what do you do? How do you do the derivative? So now comes the derivative. Oh, and I want to change the color for extra clarity. So doing all I can to make this clear. I know it's a derivative. So there's your derivative. What do? You do the outer layer. So that 2 is going to come down to keep all of this the same. F of, here, 2 there. Um, F of, and then keep that inside. All that stays the same, but you have to subtract 1 from the power. So that goes like that. So there's the outer layer. That's this I just did times, right? That making sense? I did the outer layer. Doesn't just mean the front. It means the outer layer, which happens to be up here in the right. That might be, you might think, well, I'm looking on the left. No, don't think left, right. Think outer, inner. So this 2 is outer. That's the A. So you do him first, down comes the 2, lower the power by 1, keep the inside the same. So you do the outer layer, keep the inside the same. And so now you're done with the outer layer, right? You can check it off, so to speak. Now move down 1 layer, take the root of that. So what's that going to be? Well, that's going to be F prime. And what? Keep the inside of it the same. Times, so now he's done, move to the inner layer, and that would be F prime. So there it is. Now I've got to plug in what they told me to plug in. They said they want G prime of 8. So G prime of 8. So G prime plug an 8 in. Going to put an 8 right there, and an 8 right there, and an 8 right there. Let's go find out what that stuff is. So that's going to be 2 f, and this is going to be f of 8. What is f, little f of 8? Go back up here. Little f of 8 right here, it's 14. This becomes 14 times f prime of little f of 8. Again, that's 14 times. Now, this is a little different. This is f prime of 8, little f prime of 8. So little f prime of 8 is right here, 10. Okay. Now, let's go another layer. Now we've got little f of 14 in here. Little f of 14. So what's that? Little f of 14. Little f of 14 is 2. So all just becomes 2 times. And now we got f prime of 14. What's f prime of 4? Little f prime of 14. Little f prime of 14 is 3 times the 10. So there we go. 2 times 2 is 4 times 3 times 10. What's that? 12 times 10. 120. I hope I got that right after all that work. 120. Yeah, 120. So there we go. That's pretty tough. 3 layers there. And so there we go. Lots of chain rule.